completely all the way at the back. I'm going to keep my voice low. Namaste to all of you. And really, this is a really wonderful scripture, the Sutras. And because we are all practicing yoga, I think it's so vital for us to be informed about the Sutras and to understand what the Sutras really stand for, what yoga really stands for, and what yoga really is. So I'm just going to quickly summarize what we did yesterday, because some of you were not here, perhaps. How many of you were not here yesterday? Yeah, so you were not here yesterday. So I'm going to quickly do a quick summary. So essentially, we have almost 200 yoga sutras. Sutra means string. And the words or the interpretation that we are now going to do, the words are already there. They are strings of words. The interpretation of these sutras are like the beads on a string. So if I wear a necklace, you know, I have beads, right? So these beads are the interpretation of these two-line sentences or one-line sentences, which have a lot of meaning. They're filled with meaning. So essentially, yoga was a science that that is more than 5,000 BC, more than 5,000 years ago. It is so ancient and it is so timeless. It's incredible that we are still practicing it, so relevant, because human beings are the same. Nothing really has changed. Everything is the same. And essentially, it's relevant. It was relevant then. It is even relevant now. And 5,000 years ago, it was taught more from teacher to student, individually. But until Patanjali came along, and of course, nobody knows whether he was an individual or it was a group of people, because no one was alive at that time to know whether, but he or they left behind this incredible treatise or scripture that explains yoga. So he was the first one who actually explained it in a very systematic way for the generations to follow, to be able to practice, okay, what was earlier done from teacher to student. So we are the blessed ones to have this book or this called treatise. And the summary of the first, so it's divided into the almost, oh no. Oh yeah, I think I did. I'll just check. Thank you. Yes, I think it is recorded. Yes. So thank you. So essentially, the 196 aphorisms, they're called aphorisms, aphorisms, or sutras in Sanskrit. Sutra, as I mentioned, is string. And these 196 aphorisms are divided into 4 portions. The first portion is called Samadhi Pada. Samadhi, as I mentioned, yoga is Ashtanga yoga. And don't think about Ashtanga as the Ashtanga yoga that's practiced these days, the physical asana practice. That's not the Ashtanga we're talking about here. The royal path or Raja Yoga, which is translated as a royal path, is it is a yoga of the mind. So we must understand that yoga is really all to do with the mind, the actual yoga, right? Asanas is only a small part of the whole science of yoga. And the science of mind is, he talks about in the first, so it's divided into 4 portions. The first portion, he talks about the mind attaining that state of samadhi. Samadhi, or the state of liberation. Liberation is where we become self-realized. We come to realize who we truly are. Currently, for each of us, our reality and our identity is, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a blah, 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 blah. All the different labels that have been imposed on us through living life, right? When we were born, what were we? What identity did we have, right? Nothing, right? We didn't even know we didn't even know if we were a girl or a boy, right? Then around 2 years, now your mother says, oh, you're a girl. Now I'm only going to make you wear pink. So then you say, oh, I'm a girl. So the identities start to come on, right? These identities are layers that keep coming on. And the more we accumulate these identities and the more we identify with these identities, we fall into a trap, okay? Whole world is based on my life circumstances, my financial circumstances, my relation, how my relationships are. All of that starts to dictate who I believe I am. So the whole science of yoga and the science of liberation is to teach to bring us to a point where we come to that place of what we call self-realization. What is it? What is yoga? A systematic path to self-realization. Self-knowledge. What is self-realization? Self-knowledge. Know thyself. Yeah, the Greek said, know thyself. It's already there on a stone. You go to the ruins, the Greek ruins, it says there, first thing, know thyself. Who is the self? The self, not the self that is this appearance, but the self that is within us, that is unchanging. It is unchanging. It is not subject to all the pain, the pleasure, the good circumstances, the bad circumstances. It's not subject to death, old age, disease. It's untouched by all of that. It is the ever-present light within you. It's like that, sorry. No, it's okay. It's that ever-present light within, which it's the ever-present light within us that never gets dimmed. Okay, all we need to do, so the practice of yoga is to remove that lampshade, okay, and let that light express itself through us. So living yoga simply means living as a being of light, because that's who we are. We are not this body. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thoughts. I'm none of that. All that is temporary. It comes and goes like the clouds, comes and goes, comes and goes. So it's a systematic eightfold path. And therefore, the Ashtanga is the 8 limbs, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, because we're going to work on the Ashtanga. So Raja Yoga is the royal path, okay? Under Raja Yoga is Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga, which is the physical yoga that we all are familiar with, is actually a means to what? It's a means to Raja Yoga. So Hatha Yoga cannot lead to enlightenment. Are you all clear? So just because I get into all those contorted positions, I'm not going to become enlightened. You understand? Because if that was the case, as I often say, the circus, go to the circus, and those guys can do incredible things with their bodies, right? They would all be enlightened, right? That's not the case. The reason we do these contortions is so that the channels of the body are freed up. All the nadis are freed up. When the nadis are freed up, the mind becomes clear. There's clarity of mind. Now I can understand, I'm better able to perceive all those sensations, when they bubble up, anger bubbles up, I'm able to see it. Greed bubbles up, I'm able to see it. Jealousy bubbles up, I'm able to see. I'm there to catch all these things that come up in me. That's what it's there to. It's there to teach us how to become more aware. So the asana practice is merely a means to an end, and that end is cultivating awareness, so that through that awareness, I wake up to who I truly am. The yogis say we are all asleep. We are like sleepwalking in a dream. This whole thing is a dream. This entire universe is a fabrication of my mind. Okay. So essentially, hatha yoga, hatha, is balancing the yin and the yang, the sun and the moon, the solar and the lunar, the Ida and Pingala, so that we come to that state of absolute balance. When we are in that state of absolute balance, meditation becomes possible, and we're able to change our internal state. And we talked about the three gunas yesterday: rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic. There is more sattva guna. The minute there is more sattva guna in you, through practice, through dietary control, through control in how you're dealing with your loved ones, all of that plays a role. When that happens, there's more of that quality, purity in you. And when that quality of purity is in you, it means you have peeled away some of those layers that obscure the light from shining through you. So essentially what yoga is doing is helping you to become transparent to your own inner light, to your own inner beauty. Yeah, because that's who we are. So the systematic eightfold, ashta means 8, anga means limbs. So what are the 8 limbs? Yeah, the first limb is yama. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Yamas, what are the 5 yamas? So it's like the 5 commandments. So I need to first have some sort of moral, ethical conduct in how I conduct myself, how I live my life. Okay, because as I mentioned yesterday, yoga is a way of life. It's a philosophy. It's not asana, it's philosophy. It's a way of life. So what are the 5 yamas? The first is non-violence, ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violence. So what is violence? Violence can be, we think of violence as I go beat somebody up, right? That, of course, nobody does that, right? But we're talking about violence even to ourselves. Okay, when I'm violent, what would you describe as being violent to yourself? We're not violent to others, we are violent to ourselves. When I'm overly judgmental, when I'm overly critical about myself, when I'm too hard on myself, I come to a yoga class and I say, I have to get into the pose. Never mind, no matter what, I'm going to do it. Yeah, that is a form of violence. You're pushing. Why are you pushing? For what, right? So violence stems from fear, okay? When we are afraid, and what does that fear stem from? From the ego, yeah, the false identity. The false identity that appears to be real. So when I am in that state of fear, then I feel I need money, I need this, I need a lot, I need friends, I need adulation, I need people's reassurance, I need all this. So that's where desires come in. So violence, non-violence is where we are mindful about how we act, how we speak, how we treat others, how we treat ourselves. It starts with ourselves and then it extends out into the world, because the way I treat myself is how I'm going to treat others. And it is all about ensuring that I don't harm or injure anybody, not through my thoughts. So even thinking negative thoughts about somebody, yeah, thinking negative thoughts is a form of violence. Speaking like that, gossiping is a form of violence. Okay, ahimsa, that is a form of, you're injuring somebody else. Okay, so gossiping is a form of violence. Violence can also be, a big part of non-violence. Where I come from, the culture I come from, is not even killing an animal to eat, because the animal goes through a lot of pain. The animal has consciousness, just like you and I have. And there is a lot of fear in the animal when the animal is going through death or being killed. So that is the consciousness that you're ingesting. And in a way, even that is considered violence. You understand? So again, when you start practicing yoga, and you start breathing correctly, as the breathing patterns change, you'll automatically find, I'm actually not so drawn to meat anymore. It will fall off by itself. You start to find the more sattva guna you start to cultivate, the more you find your diet changes, lots of things change in your life. You start to feel like, I don't want to do that. How can I do that? I don't want to put, this thing of another animal. It's another life has been taken for me to have pleasure. I don't want to do that. So I'm just talking about, I'm not here to preach to tell you stop eating meat, but I'm just telling you violence and non-violence, what it's regarded. And we know some of the people in our lives that we have lifetime, like Martin Luther King, Gandhiji, all of these people were really big proponents of non-violence, right? So any kind of injury to anyone comes from the premise or understanding that the other is me. When I injure the other, I'm injuring myself. Okay, that's the basic premise, that when I injure somebody, when I harm somebody, when I hurt somebody, I'm actually hurting and harming myself. So non-violence is number one, ahimsa, okay? Mm-hmm. The second one is ahimsa. The second is satya, speaking the truth, making sure that I am not exaggerating. I speak things as they are. I'm not lying. I'm not misrepresenting. I'm speaking the truth, and I act in accordance to truth. Okay, satya. The third is asteya. Asteya means non-stealing, not taking what does not belong to me. Does not belong to me, I don't touch it. It does not belong to me. I respect the property of the other, so I should not indulge or engage in something that does not belong to me. That's asteya. Number 4 is brahmacharya. Brahman. Remember yesterday I talked about Purusha. Marlene, can I have the duster, please? Duster is in that cupboard. Duster. The cupboard where all the photo frames are. Purusha at the bottom. Purusha or the absolute. Yesterday we talked about. And that's the light. Think of Purusha as the light which is ever present within you. Think of it as a light that will never die. No matter what happens, your body might be diseased, things might happen, but that light always remains. Yeah. So, thank you. So, Purusha is the absolute. Yeah. And we practice yoga to attain that state of realization of Purusha, or the absolute. Now, another word for Purusha is Brahman. Okay? Brahman, Purusha, absolute, or even you can say God. That's what people call God. The thing with yoga compared to all other religions is that we don't believe there is some entity out there, right? In Christianity, Christ is considered God. In Buddhist teachings, Buddha is considered the God. When you start to practice yoga, you realize that the God is within you. There is no external God to worship. You can go and worship there, absolutely. They were great prophets. They were great teachers that came into this world and taught mankind how to live. So like Patanjali, they were great sages, they were teachers, and we respect them. Yeah, in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, all of them were great teachers who sacrificed their lives to teach us something. But essentially, yoga recognizes that the teacher is within you. And all these teachers who came, they were basically pointing you back to yourself. Every teacher that came, it's only organized religion that changed things around, because then they instilled fear in people and control over people. So it started to become organized. It started to become very damaging, right? And therefore, a lot of people are now disillusioned. We were joking yesterday. A student of mine was saying in Italy, people are no longer going to church in the morning. They're going to yoga classes. Yoga classes are full. Churches are emptied. So it's because now there's a realization that there is no external entity there I'm worshiping. It's really within me and within all beings. Do you understand? It's even, like we said, it's even within the person, within the person who's sitting in jail, who's murdered someone. He is the same. He's also Purusha, by the way. You understand? But he has taken on this identity where he's forgotten who he is, and he has gone into a state of, you know, amnesia, forgetfulness. Yeah. So the yama on we talk about brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is living and abiding in Brahman. Okay. Now, brahmacharya can also be translated as celibacy. Okay, because the semen or the whatever it is that is released in a sexual this thing is basically very potent. It's called ojas. It's got tremendous potential. It can, I mean, you know that it's got tremendous potential because it can lead to a form, a baby can be born just from that ojas, right? So it's got so much power in it. So one of the things that with advanced yogis, there is a bit of that. There is celibacy as well, but it's not imposed, and it's more controlled rather than it's not. I shun it. It's bad for me because. And if you're a householder, there's nothing wrong, but you stick to one partner, and that kind of celibacy. It's not okay. Now I'm sorry. I'm a yoga practitioner. I'm a yogi now, so I'm sorry. You have your duty as a householder. Your duty is, first of all, yoga is big about adhering to your duty. So if you're married, you have a partner, you have a duty to your partner. You cannot say, now I'm practicing yoga, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a celibate. Cannot be. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's a form of violence. You need to do your duty. And then naturally, when you start to cultivate more of the sattva guna, you will notice that your partner and you both change, and you may feel, oh, we don't need this anymore. We are fine. We are happy. We are great friends. We are companions. You don't need that. Because like I said, we are losing a lot of through that whatever it is that we release, there is tremendous power that we lose as a result of that. So I'm not trying to tell you anything about celibacy here. The main thing is abiding in Brahman. So if you are abiding in Brahman, meaning if you have the knowledge of who you are and you're abiding in that state as the light, then all of the actions that are taking place are just witnessed as an action. Yeah. So brahmacharya, and the last one is aparigraha. Aparigraha is all about non-holding, okay, non-possessing, okay. So this is mine. We realize I'm just a caretaker, okay. I rented properties for 23 years. I'm again renting this. I happen to rent it from you can say from the universe. Yeah, it doesn't belong to me, because what's mine today will naturally become somebody else's tomorrow. So if I start to possess, I'm going to suffer, right? Because it's temporary. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. So non-possessing, yeah, not being attached. There's nothing wrong with having a Rolls Royce or a Porsche. We are not saying, yoga doesn't say you should not have all of that, but don't become attached to it. If it's there, enjoy it. But then if it goes, you're okay with it. You're not living in fear that, oh my God, what happens if it goes away? That fear, that possessiveness comes from ignorance, avidya, yeah, and that will create a lot of suffering. And if you're suffering, you cannot be enlightened. If you're suffering is one thing, that's a huge obstacle to enlightenment. Yeah, if you're suffering. So you need to see what the root cause of your suffering is. And you'll always notice that the root cause of your suffering is you. You are the cause of your own suffering. There is no external party that you can blame or point a finger at and say, I'm suffering because of so and so. No. First thing when you start practicing yoga is you become responsible for everything, for your health and for your happiness. Okay. So the yamas are 5 yamas. I repeat: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Okay, the 5 yamas. So this is my relationship to the world. Then you have niyamas, 5 niyamas. So these are 5, and you have 5 niyamas, and niyamas are your relationship with yourself. So 5 observances, as they are called. What are these 5 observances? The first is saucha. Saucha is purity. cleanliness, yeah, internal cleanliness and external cleanliness. I keep my body, keep my mind clean, even my mind. So what I read, what I ingest on television is all clean, okay? So that because all of that has an impact on my thinking and on my way of being. So maintaining cleanliness with bodily, physical, psychological, emotional cleanliness, yeah? Saucha. Santosha is about contentment, yeah? So you know how it is? It's easy to fall into the trap of materialism, yeah? It's very easy to fall into this trap and say, I need. But if you really come down to it, you realize that we need so little, right? We need so little. We don't need much. It's we who create the wants, we who create the needs, and then we have to work hard to get those needs. And then are we happy after that? Not really. You know, I give you my own example. For many years, I was renting properties, was very happy, didn't have to think about a thing. Then I had to buy, and I was like, oh my God, now I realize, oh my God, now I realize that having is also a problem because it's so much goes around it. There's so much, when you possess something, you have to take care of it. It's not easy. You have an expensive car. What are you going to do? One knock on that car and it's like, oh my God, now I have to spend so much dukkha, so much pain, right? I have to go send it for repair. And so creating these needs that are not necessary, so-called living in a life that has simplicity. There is a lot of joy and simplicity. So contentment comes with realizing the power of simplicity. Do you understand? So that I enjoy my life and I'm able to put my attention where it's really necessary. If I'm busy accumulating material wealth, then my attention is gone there. Then that's where I'm going to, wherever my energy goes, that's what's going to materialize for me. So if I put my energy towards self-realization, then I cannot also be thinking about making so much money because it defeats the purpose. Do you understand? So having a vision for yourself and living your life based on that vision, not based on what others are saying that you should be doing. It's based on your own vision. What do I really want in my life? And how do I plan to live my life? Setting those boundaries and really being clear, having that clarity is very, very important so that your life then moves in that direction, because whatever you envision will become your reality. Yeah. So whatever you dream of, whatever you vision, that's how powerful we are. Yeah. So be careful what you wish for, be careful what your vision is, because it will materialize. And don't think that, okay, that is going to bring me happiness. Because where is the happiness really? Where is your happiness really? Is it in those objects? No one has ever found it in those objects. You can ask people who have millions of dollars, are they really happy? Not really, because they're living in fear. They have sleepless nights. What if the money, what if the stock market crashes? I'm going to lose it all, right? Constantly living on the edge in fear. That's not happiness. That's dukkha. That's unhappiness. So it doesn't mean having more is going to bring me happiness. Understanding that I need to live a life of contentment where my basic needs are taken care of. Beyond that, I am more focused on things that bring me internal joy, internal peace. Okay, if this buying this object is giving me only temporary pleasure but not giving me that permanent joy, why do I need it, right? And can any object outside bring you permanent joy? It can't. Why? Why can't it? You tell me. Why can't it bring you permanent joy? Sorry?
Where there's a pleasure, there's a pain.
That's true. Where there's pleasure, there's pain. But what is the other real reason that's so in your face? Sorry? It's not permanent. It's not permanent. So if I hold on to it, I cling to it, I'm going to suffer because it's not permanent. It's not going to last. Anything that has form, name, shape, attributes is temporary. Remember that. You can write that down if you want. It's a fact of life. It's not some this thing. It's science. Anything that has name, form, attributes or qualities is temporary. It is bound to time. And anything that's bound to time is bound to decay and dissolution and death. And change. Anything that's bound to time will undergo change. Yeah. So my body is bound to time, right? So you can take it to see right there, your body is constantly changing. Yeah. Look at your photographs 20 years ago. Do you still look the same? No, you don't. Changed, right? So we see that if my physical vehicle is changing, everything else in this universe is in a constant state of flux, changing, impermanent, transient. As the Buddha said, anitya. It's temporary. Don't hold on to it. But even a relationship, I love my child, but is that permanent? No. Nothing is permanent. So we learn how to not become attached. That's the concept of non-attachment, which we talked about yesterday. Vairagya, non-attachment. The two pillars of yoga, what are the two main pillars of yoga? Practice, practice, practice. Abhyasa, meaning all the time I'm practicing 24 hours of the day, not just when I'm on the mat. That is only asana. When I step out, my real yoga practice begins when I leave the mat and I'm starting to relate to the world. And I'm faced with obstacles, challenges. How do I deal with that? That's the real yoga. Yoga is skill in action. It's the art of living. Okay, so we see that the whole idea, the whole premise of yoga is based on the fact that I live a life which is sustainable to me, which is simplicity, contentment, saucha, santosha. And then we come to the next one, which is Ishwar Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is study of the scriptures. So what we are doing right now is Swadhyaya, study of the scriptures. These scriptures are timeless teachings. They have withstood the test of time. You look at, you can say the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, all these are timeless teachings. They have within them the truths. But of course, how it is interpreted now, that's where the issues happen. Yeah. The issues are the interpreters and the interpretations that are serving someone, right? So then they interpret it a certain way. There's nothing wrong with what is said there. Yeah, it's all correct. Yeah. But it's the interpretation of it which is warped and lost in translation, and then it's misunderstood and people start to live in a way that's completely deluded. Yeah. So we see Swadhyaya is also self-study. Swa is self-study. So constantly watching myself. I constantly observe how I think, what thoughts are going through me, what my emotions are, what my relationships are, how I operate when there's a challenge. How do I deal with a challenge? Do I get all bent out of shape, or am I able to remain calm, composed, and neutral and say, there's a challenge. Can I step back? Am I able to step back and allow myself to really have a clear perspective on how to solve it? Because in the problem, there is a solution. But in order for me to find that, I need to step out of it. But if I'm in it, I cannot see it because I'm too close to it. Do you understand? So having the wisdom, and that's what meditation teaches us, how to step back and observe, be the observer. So the 5 yamas, and the last one that's very important is Ishwar Pranidhan. Ishwar is Purusha. So another name. So how many names, right? Another name. I'm going to introduce another name. It's called Ishwar. Ishwara. Yeah, Ishwara. Lots of names. Yeah. It's another name. Ishwar Pranidhan. Pranidhan simply means I surrender. I surrender to that light within me. I realize that the teacher of all teachers is within me. There's no external teacher. The external teacher is only there to help me to shed the darkness away. Guru. The meaning of guru is the one who sheds my darkness. He brings light into my life. Yeah, that's a guru. So Ishwar Pranidhan is I surrender to this being within me. It's not some entity, by the way, because it has no form. It is the light within me. It is this feeling, this I amness or consciousness, which is untainted, untouched, and ever present, and it is nothing but love. What is it? What is that Ishwar within us? It's nothing but love. So when you feel that, when you're overcome with that love, you're basically connected to that lifeline. It's like a lifeline. So Ishwar Pranidhan is I surrender all my actions, everything I do, the fruits of my actions. Also, I surrender to that within me. I say, not my will, thy will. Again, from the Bible. What does it say? What does Jesus say? Not my will, thy will. Meaning, whatever, I will work hard, but what the result is, I'm not attached to it. It's up to you what you want to give me. Yeah, I will work hard. So Ishwar Pranidhan is surrender, surrendering to that within us, which is, like I said, omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. Yeah, it is ever present, omnipresent, omnipotent. Why is it omnipotent? It is full of potential, infinite possibilities, because it is space, it is emptiness. And it's omniscient. What does omniscient mean? It's all-knowing. It has knowledge of everything, but it is, again, untouched by anything. Yeah. So all-knowing, all-seeing, and ever-present. So the 5 niyamas, this is very important for a yoga practitioner who starts yoga, on the journey of yoga. Any questions about that? No. Then you have asana. Now, the literal meaning of asana is seat. Now, there's only three sutras that are dedicated to asana, by the way. And what are those asanas that he talks about? All the meditation postures. He doesn't talk about all the headstand, shoulder stand, the twist and forward bend and back bend and blah, 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 that we work so hard to do. Doesn't talk about any of that. Yeah. He talks about all the postures that are related to dhyana, meditation. So Padmasan, Sukhasan, Siddhasan, Swastikasan, all of Vajrasan, Virasan, all of those postures, seat. So asana literally means seat, S-E-A-T. Okay, clear about that. Then we have pranayama, pratyahara. You know what is pranayama. It's the regulation of your breath. Okay. Pratyahara is sensory withdrawal. The senses withdrawn inward, turned inwards. And that leads to dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So the first chapter is all about 8. He talks about samadhi. So the first chapter, the first portion is samadhi pada. Okay. Now I'm going to start with what are the ways. Okay. So yesterday we talked about the yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. What are the 5 types of fluctuations? Pramana, viparyayo, vikalpa, nidra, and smriti. Pramana is through perception and inference and self-study. I come to understand things. This is a form of pramana, what you're going through right now. Yeah. The second is viparyayo. Viparyayo is wrong thinking. I'm basically mistaking a rope to be a snake. Yeah. So there's a very good story in the scriptures in which a man in his backyard, the light was slightly dark. It was slightly dark in the evening, and when he stepped out, he looked afar and he saw this thing that appeared to be a snake. So he was really frightened. He said, "Oh my God, there's a snake, there's a snake." So a whole group of people got together and said, "Oh my God, there's a snake." And then came along one guy with a light and looked at it and said, "It's actually not a snake, it's just a rope, right? It's only a rope, but it needed light. Somebody brought the light." So that's the guru. We're all here in the same way, mistaking this whole world to be like a snake in a rope. Yeah, we think it's all so real. My God, my success is so real. My failure is so real. My money is so real. My relationship is so real. But the truth is, it's all without any substance. Yeah, it's all without any substance because it relates to the non-self. Yeah, it relates to what? To this appearance, which is going to go through change, death, and dissolution. Yeah, and I am mistaking this whole thing to be so real that I get very caught up in it. I get very upset. I get very angry. I get very depressed. I get very anxious. I get very fearful. All of these things come because I'm taking the unreal to be real. And I don't even know about the reality that's within me. I'm not even aware that within me is this reality that is there to wake me up. I'm basically a king, but I think I'm a pauper, right? Right now, I think I'm a pauper because I'm going around thinking, okay, the world is, I put my hand there, say, the world is going to give it to me. The world is going to give me, the world is, but has anything the world given you, brought you lasting happiness? No, no, it cannot. It cannot. Yeah, it cannot bring you lasting happiness. We see that in the case of all these mega stars, right? What happens to them in the end? Some of them commit suicide. Some of them do overuse of drugs, alcohol, because they're so afraid to lose that identity. Yeah, they're so stuck to that identity that is imposed to them by the world. So we see the world cannot give it to you. You have to find it within yourself. It is within you, and you have to seek within for that. Yeah. So we see that essentially the pratyahara and dharana and dhyana is starting to turn the senses inwards, not being oriented to the world. If you're constantly being oriented to the world, you're going to be mesmerized. You're going to think that that snake, that rope is actually a snake, but actually it's not. It's got no substance. Yeah. It doesn't have any substance. It's temporary. Yeah. So we see that these 5 types of vrittis, and then you have vikalpa. Vikalpa is wrong imagination. Yeah. Imagining things that are not truth. The truth. We are deluded. And then there is smriti and nidra. Nidra is sleep. It's a form of fluctuation. It's a form of vritti. And smriti is all the memories that are driving my actions right now. And then we talked yesterday, we talked about the reasons, and we'll come into that. Avidya, why do I have these vrittis, and why am I caught up in them? Because of ignorance, avidya, rag, dvesh, attachment, aversion, ego, asmita, ego. I'm sitting in my ego. I'm holding on to this false identity. And last one is I'm clinging to life. That's abhinivesha. What is abhinivesha? Clinging to life. I'm afraid of death. Yeah, abhinivesha. But once I realize that death is nothing but a renewal, and it's just like I go change my car, I decide my vehicle is now 20 years old, 30 years old, I need to go change it. It's the same thing. The body is just a vehicle, okay? It's only an instrument. It's not the real. It is made up of the 5 elements, and it will go through it will go through change and dissolution, like everything that has form and attributes and is subject to time. Yeah. Bodies are subject to the ravages of time. So we know the whole billion-dollar industry that is talking about eternal youth, right? Eternal youth, stay young forever, right? It's all about that. So if everybody is going to start practicing yoga, the whole industry will collapse. Right? No, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that. Maintaining your youth, there's nothing wrong with that. Maintaining your youth is important if it is your health that you're maintaining. It's really all about health, so that you can maintain clarity of mind, and you're able to take this vehicle through life and attain your goal of self-realization. Okay, so now he talks about what are the means to attaining that. Okay, and he talks about, the first thing he talks about is Om. Yeah. Now, Om is the primordial sound okay. So Om is the primordial sound that consists of 3 syllables. Ah, Now, he says, what Patanjali says in the Sutras is that a word, any word, like if I use the word God, right, it conjures up so many images, right? I think of maybe Christ. If I'm a Christian, I think of Christ. If I'm a Buddhist, I think of Buddha. If I'm a Muslim, I think of Prophet Muhammad. So it's basically my concept is based on my conditioning, right? Whereas Ishvara is beyond all conditioning. Yeah, Purusha or Ishvara or Brahman is beyond all conditioning. It is untouched, and it has no name, no form, no attributes. There is nothing you can attribute to it, because it was prior to this body, prior to this mind. So you cannot know that. Purusha cannot know, you cannot know Purusha through the mind. You can only know Purusha through silencing the mind, which is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, stilling the fluctuations of the mind. And so he says that to experience God, it's not the name of God, but to actually feel God. There is a sound vibration, a cosmic sound that is vibrating in you and in the universe, and you can only hear it if your mind is quiet. If you're thinking all the time, that sound gets drowned out. Do you understand? So he says one of the ways to feel it is to go into the meaning of Om and into the repetition of Om, because it is the sound of all sounds. It is a sound that contains all the sounds of the universe. It is the mother of all sounds. As you see that Ah is at the root of the tongue. Where Ah, you say Ah, Ah, it's all the way at the back of the tongue. You say ooh, it's in the mid part of your tongue. Ooh. You say it's the front of your tongue. So it involves the entire mouth, the entire tongue. It's the only sound in the universe that encompasses the entire tongue. And it's the only sound you can make with your mouth closed, through the humming, right? We hum. So Om is the sound that contains within it that silence. So if we talk about Purusha, it is formless. It has no form. And it is silence. What is Purusha? Silence. In order to feel that silence, I need to silence my mind. Do you understand? So when my mind is silent, then I can actually experience Purusha. And the Om, so if you say Om, it is the 3 states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So waking, okay, so this is deep sleep. It's got 3 loops. You see that? 1, 2, and 3. You see that? It's got 3 loops. Okay, now, and then it's got the dream, the second loop. This is dream. This loop is dream. Okay, this is dream. And this is the waking state. Now, we experience this every single day, right? Every human being experiences all three states. You're awake right now. You go back home at night, what are you going to do? You're going to go into dream, and then you're going to go into deep sleep. But beyond those three states, there is a fourth state of consciousness. So there's three states of consciousness which we are familiar with. Okay? But there's a fourth state of consciousness, and that's called Turiya. And that state is this bindu, this dot here. That is Turiya. It is pure consciousness. So that's Purusha. Now, this dot basically is the silence after the Om. So when you do the Om, what happens? It's called Anuswara or Pranava. Yeah, Pranava, because it is connected to your prana. It's connected to your prana. Yeah, it's there. Like I said, it's happening in your body. The Om is happening, but you can only hear it when the mind is quiet. And because we're never quiet, we don't hear it. So when we say the Om and the end of the Om, it tapers into what? Tapers into silence. Then from that silence, the sound arises again. And then again, the sound tapers back into silence. And once again, from the silence, the Om arises. So what is the ground or the source for all sound? What is the source of all sound? Silence. What is the source of all sound? So sound is form, just like I am form, right? All sound eventually comes from silence and dissolves back into silence. Where does sound arise from? And we're nothing but sound particles. And so this sound has arisen, or the form has arisen from silence or the formlessness, and it dissolves back into formlessness. And we call that state of dissolving back into silence samadhi. Do you understand? What is samadhi? Dissolving back into the source. Right now, we are separated from the source. Because I say, I'm a woman, I'm a blah, 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 I'm a blah, I'm a blah, I'm a blah, all the blahs. Thousands of blahs, right? And so when I sit in dhyan or meditation, and all those blahs dissolve, because when I'm sitting, I'm just simply sitting, as the Zen say, Zazen. What is Zen? Simply sitting, doing nothing. I just sit, and I allow the mind to just stabilize and become silent. When the mind stabilizes and silences, that joy, that peace becomes apparent. And that peace is dhyana. And that, for extended periods of time, leads to samadhi, liberation. Yeah. Okay? All of you clear? Now, so Om is, he says, one of the means to attaining that. Yeah. Because underneath the Om is the silence. Now, it is said in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was Om. So it's not something anyone created. Do you understand? It's not part of language that was created by some individual or some yogi who said, okay, Om is the sound. It was that when the whole world came into existence, there was a huge sound. They call it the Big Bang Theory. That sound was Om. So there was form. Suddenly, from silence, from emptiness, from nothingness, this whole universe was materialized, manifested. And then where is this whole universe going to go into, back into? Into disillusion, ultimately. And it happens, the dissolution happens every night when you sleep, right? The whole world dissolves, right? When you sleep, it's happening every night. The dissolution is happening every night when you go to sleep. There is no more of the world. Your name, your form, what your bank balance is, nothing is of any relevance at that time. The minute you wake up, That's it. The mind wakes up, the thoughts wake up, and you're gone. You're finished. That's it. You're out. Out into delusion. Yeah. Okay. So Om is one of the means to it, he says. Okay. Because through Om, you experience that. If I tell you apple, right? Unless you have eaten an apple, yeah, apple could be a man, could be a woman, right? So you want to, in order to experience that Ishvara or Purusha, Om is one of the means that he talks about in the sutras. Because you know the bell that they have, the bell of mindfulness, the Zen bell of mindfulness, and the bell in the church, and it's basically the Om, right? You ring the bell, yeah. We have the bell of mindfulness. I studied with Thich Nhat Hanh. It was a beautiful experience. The first thing I saw him was he was in front of this massive Zen bell, and he's a small man, you know. He hit this huge bell, and there was 300, 400 people, and everybody was just standing still, just stood still, because what does that sound dissolve into? Silence. And at that time, his teaching is just watch your breath, because you're really there. You're right there in the moment. You are present to who you really are. It's very simple teachings. Watch your breath. Anapanasati. The Buddha said, sit and watch your breath. In and out, in and out. The breath is a constant reminder of my present moment awareness, being here and now. Yeah. So the next one, so he talks about that. Then he says to repeat it with reflection upon its meaning is an aid. So, you know, as you start to repeat it, it starts to become an aid. You start to understand the meaning of it, and it starts to become natural, ajapa, yeah, where it's spontaneously, you start to hear it. And then he says through this practice, all obstacles. So there's a big part of mantra yoga, yeah, something which I also personally was introduced to and initiated into from the Himalayan tradition, is that sound that you're initiated into is a sound that you keep for life, and that goes with you even when you die. It is a sound that basically connects you. It's like your lifeline. It connects you to that Purusha within you, and so that you are, even if you may be partying outside, you may be enjoying life outside. There's nothing wrong. Like I said, yoga does not say don't enjoy, don't party, don't drink, it doesn't say any of that. It says live your life, but never forget the reality within you. Never forget the truth. Don't get mesmerized by that whole thing and get carried away, because it is not going to bring you lasting happiness. It is going to bring you pain. Eventually, it's going to lead to pain. So remember to stay connected and tuned into the reality within you, because that is going to keep you anchored in that peace, in your true nature. And that is what yoga is all about. So when I practice yoga, that should be my vision. My vision is to connect to that light within myself, to my inner teacher. Why do I practice yoga, and with what attitude should I practice yoga? It is to awaken to my own inner teacher. Yeah. Now he talks about the 9 obstacles. Okay, what are the obstacles to self-realization? Here he talks about disease. Okay, so if I'm sick, what happens? Which is why the yoga becomes hatha yoga practices. All the hatha yoga practices become very important, because it prevents disease. Just this morning to the group, I was talking to you all about how it is a very wonderful prevention because any disease first starts in the subtle energy body. Before it shows up manifests in the gross body, it's already happening in the subtle energy body. So all the yoga that we are doing is working the subtle energy body. It's not just working the large muscles and, you know, I'm trying to strengthen my upper body and trying to strengthen my back. It is helping all that, but it's essentially working on the sukshma sharira, the subtle body, yeah, not the gross body as much as we are working with the subtle body, because we want the energy to flow. So disease is a huge obstacle. When you're sick, when you're going through illness, is there any even thought about Purusha or Ishvara? At that time, it's only the pain and whatever you're going through, right? So we see disease is a big obstacle. Now, disease, he says, then leads to the next obstacle, which is called dullness. We become very dull. We become dull. We become, I'm depressed. We say, what is life? Why am I living this life? It's a treacherous life, blah, 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 blah. So the dullness comes in. Now, then from dullness comes doubt. Then I become very doubtful. I say, I'm sure there is no such thing. I learned about it in a yoga class, but you know what? Where is God? I'm just so unhappy here. I'm so sick, right? So doubt comes in. Doubt is a huge obstacle. Yeah. When you're on the path, you keep going with Shraddha. So there are 4 concepts there, 4 principles. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi. Yeah. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Prajna. So what is that? Shraddha is I keep my faith in my practice. I keep my faith. I keep going, keep going, I keep going. I may meet some setbacks. I may meet some obstacles, but I keep going. And I keep my faith in my practice, keep my faith in whatever I'm doing. Shraddha, Virya, I have strength, I have courage, I have conviction, and I live with that. Smriti is mindfulness. I'm constantly in a state of remembrance of my true nature. Yeah, Smriti. And the last one is Prajna. Prajna is the wisdom that arises from this living in that manner. There's a natural, innate wisdom that arises in me. Yeah. So doubt, carelessness, laziness. So I become very tamasic. Yeah. Sensuality. I start becoming very caught up in the sensory pleasures. Yeah. Sensory pleasures become very attractive to me because I'm basically numbed. I've numbed myself. I've lost my sensitivity. My body has become so desensitized that I start to go after sensual pleasures. Why? Because the mind, what is the nature of the mind? Mind is only seeking one thing all the time. Pleasure. And running away from what? Pain. Yeah. False perception. Yeah. All the time thinking wrong. All the time thinking wrong. And if we really start to examine our thoughts, we see that most of it is rubbish. It's meant to go into the not recycle bin. What is that bin? It has to go into that bin that is taken away. Yeah. So false perception, thinking wrong. Yeah. And living with those thoughts. Failure to reach firm ground. Now, okay, so now I say, okay, I am going to practice with a resolve, okay? And I practice, and then an obstacle comes. And what do? I fall off the rails. I say, can't be bothered, I'm not going to do it. You know, I've been practicing, but you know what? I'm not really seeing anything. So failure to reach firm ground. If I haven't reached firm ground, I'm going to feel like completely a sense of diffidence. I feel like I don't want to continue this, and you fall off. Yeah. Or you reach a certain level, but then again you're not able to sustain it because something comes up in your life. One big obstacle comes, and then you kind of fall off the ground. Now, what he says is very reassuring. What he says, don't worry. Yeah, practicing yoga is like going on an obstacle race. A lot of obstacles, by the way, will be placed on your way, on your path. Yeah, just letting you know. Don't think it's all very glamorous. Yeah, you will be faced with a lot of obstacles when you're on the path of yoga. You will be tested and tried and tested and tried. You'll be whacked several times, but you realize that it's normal. I need to come back. I just need to come back. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I just come back. And I'm not saying just coming back to the asana practice. I'm talking about your practice of being aware and all the time being conscious. Living consciously is what we are talking about. Yeah. So it's normal to go through these obstacles, but do not be caught up in them. Move it on. Move it on. Say, it's okay. This moment is important. I'm here and I'm awake and I'm alive. So let me make the best of this moment. Maybe all the previous moments I wasn't there. Now I'm here, I'm awake. All you need is 1 minute. They call it that one split second in which there is a sudden awakening that can happen. So that is this present moment. There is no such thing as past or future or something there. It's right here, right now. Then he says from this practice, what is that? Sorry, yeah. Then he talks about another one. He talks about also the accompaniments to mental distractions include distress, despair, trembling of the body, and disturbed breathing. Yeah. So mental distractions include what? Distress. I'm very upset. Yeah. I'm very upset about something. And that becomes a huge obstacle. When I'm distressed about something, I have no peace, I have no tranquility. In order to realize that light within myself, I need to first have a peaceful mind. What is the first prerequisite? Peace of mind, tranquility. So therefore, we always say, I'm personally say this to all my students, if you're going through a lot of conflict in your life, don't try to escape from that and sit for meditation. It ain't happening. Yeah. Instead, resolve those conflicts. You want to be conflict-free, then the meditation will happen by itself. You understand? But if your life is full of conflicts, yeah, and life is a mess, what do you need to do first? Settle that mess. Take the action. Do what needs to be done. It's your dharma. It's your duty to take care of that. You can't say, never mind, I'm just going to sit for meditation. It's all going to work out by itself. I'll just sit for meditation. It's all going to work. No, I need to attend to it. I need to wake up and attend to my duties. I can't say, the children need attention. But you know what? It's my time to meditate. I'm shutting my door. Don't disturb me. Yeah, I did this for many years myself. And I realized now it was an escape. Yeah, I'd say, mommy needs to meditate, okay? And they'd be busy fighting there because they need mommy's attention or mommy's busy sitting for meditation, right? So we realize that settle your life, take care of your duties, don't run away from your duties. Your duties are your duty is your dharma, it's your worship, it's your religion. What is your religion? My duty as a wife, as a mother, whatever that is, I have to fulfill it first. Then I can. So it's as hard as it is for a householder. It's easier to become enlightened as a householder, contrary to what people think, that if I run off to a cave, I will become enlightened. No. You have to live in the world, live through all the hardships of relationships, family, getting along with them. And that is going to help you to wake up, not running away and saying, I'll go to an ashram, I'll go off to those 4 walls. And I've personally, by the way, I've done it all. I tell you from experience. Yeah, done it all. And there was a stage when everybody thought, she's going to become a renunciate. Yeah. Done it all. Been there, done it. Yeah. And you realize you don't need to do that. No, you don't need to wear those clothes. You're taking one garb is dropped and another garb is taken on. Why? It's all in the mind. Renunciation is in the mind. It has nothing to do with I renounce my clothes, I renounce my house, I renounce my car, I renounce my wealth. No need to renounce anything. Just live your life normally. Live a normal life. Be a normal householder. Take care of your duties and be a loving person wherever you are. That is yoga. Be skilled in your relationships, in your day-to-day life. No, don't run away and say, okay, now I've decided enlightenment is my goal. I'm sorry. I'm off. You can take care of yourselves. A lot of people have done that in the history. Yeah, you see, we know of a lot of people who do that. But is that the way? No, that's not the way. Take care. Be like a lotus. Wherever you're planted, rise above it. Stay where you're planted. The lotus doesn't say, look, there's a lot of dirt around me. Sorry, can I be planted somewhere else? Because I'm beautiful. I don't deserve to be in. The lotus stays in the dirt and rises above it, right? So there's a very big, this thing in yoga about be like that lotus in the world, but not of the world. Be in the world, stay in the world. There's nothing wrong. Enjoy the pleasures of the world. Go out, have a good time, have friendships, celebrate, party. Nothing wrong with any of that. Be a good wife, be a good mother, be whatever roles you're playing. Play them to the best of your ability. Be the best that you can in all those roles. If you're a daughter, be the best daughter that you can be. But remember that those people who are there in your life are there to teach you about yourself. So don't run away from them and say, okay, now I become a recluse, because you go there, then there'll be other people that will face you like demons. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So accompaniments include distress, despair. So distress and despair come because of ignorance, because we're not aware. Again, so we become very caught up in our pain. You get caught up in the story of whatever that is painful. So you'll see in the next portion, he talks about the practice itself. It's called sadhana pada, in which he talks about the tapas. And he says, use pain in a good way. Pain is good for you because pain will purify you. Don't run away from it. It is just like gold needs to be purified. It needs to go under fire. All your painful experiences are there to teach you something, to make you a better person, a better version of yourself, to purify you, to shape you back into a good state. So don't run away from it. Yeah. So despair and distress means you are running away from your pain. You are resisting your pain, and that will lead to more suffering. When you resist pain, so pain is not a choice. Remember, suffering is a choice. Pain is not a choice. It is part and parcel of life. Remember, until you have this human body, you will go through both the pain and the pleasure. But what you can do is not resist pain. When it knocks at your door, say, you're here to teach me something, I welcome you, just like I welcome pleasure. So I have a very neutral attitude to pain and pleasure. What sort of attitude should I have to both? Same attitude. Why? Because within pleasure is pain, and within pain is pleasure. They are relative states. They are not absolute states. Do you understand? So one cannot be without the other. And so my attitude to them is neutral, even-minded, because I realize it's here not to punish me, but to teach me something. And so let me embrace it. Let me learn from it. Let me be purified by it. Yeah. So not despair and distress, but acceptance is the attitude. Because he says despair and distress is a huge obstacle on the path. Then he talks about trembling. Trembling can also be because of anxiety, nervousness, fear. All of that can cause trembling. And so that can be an obstacle. And irregularities of breathing. Now, we work a lot with that here at Yoga Shakti. We see that when your breathing patterns are irregular, it is going to have an impact on your mind. You cannot sit for meditation. The first thing you need to set right is your breathing. Smooth breathing, smoothen those transitions, calm breathing, slow breathing, that will stabilize the mind. When the mind is stabilized, he also talks about how in the next sutra, he talks about how the breath plays a very, very important role and how you can utilize that as a way to attaining that state of awareness. Then he talks about the practice of concentration on a single object is another way. So it can be anything. The object, he says, you can pick any object that works for you. that you can concentrate on in your meditation practice. Basically, he's talking about meditation, by the way. Okay, he's not talking about, when he talks about yoga in the sutras, it's only meditation, by the way. It's not asana. Okay, please understand that. He's not talking about asana practice at all. He's talking about dhyana, meditation. Okay, so because all asana practice is a means to dhyana, meditation. Okay, and so he says that concentrating on an object can be another way in which you can also realize, you can actually attain that state of samadhi. Then he comes to a very important sutra where he talks about purification of the mind and emotions. And in that, he talks about the 4 locks and the 4 keys to the 4 locks. Now, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. Yeah, this in itself is a very powerful meditation practice. So this practice can also be very potent in helping you to self-realize. If you cannot sit still and meditate, he says, focus on this practice of Maitri. What is Maitri? Maitri means friendliness. Friendliness to all beings. Of course, we know friendliness is hard, right? When you see all the wars around you, people speak bad about you. The first thing I think, how can I be friends with her? She thinks she's treating me so badly, my God. But that's where we have to rise above those base emotions which say, how can I, because I'm conditioned to believing that unless you treat me well or think well of me, I don't have anything to do with you. No. I am friendly to all beings. Friendliness, Maitri, Karuna is compassion. Mudita is supportiveness or delight. And Upeksha. Upeksha is accepting others, having a neutral attitude. So let's look at it as, he talks about it, he explains it very well. He says there's 4 locks and 4 keys, okay? What are the 4 locks? The 4 locks, he categorizes people into 4 different types. Okay, if you look at the whole world, the whole universe, it's filled with people which can fall into 4 categories. What are the 4 categories? Sukha, dukkha, punya, apunya, punya, apunya, sukha, dukkha. What is punya? Punya is those who are virtuous. Okay. Apunya is those who are non-virtuous. Sukha is those who are happy. And dukkha is those who are unhappy, suffering. So sukha, dukkha, punya, apunya. Okay. Now, so what should our attitude be to these 4 types of people? So there's only 4 types of people in this world. You can categorize people in this 4 categories. You have the virtuous people, and they are called punyatva, punyatva, the people who are blessed with goodness and with, blessed in a way, they're virtuous. And so what should your attitude be to them? You should be, what is your attitude to somebody who's virtuous? Your attitude to somebody who's virtuous is you are happy for them. Yeah, you're happy for them. Somebody who is apunya. Apunya is somebody who is non-virtuous, who there's no such thing as wicked, but somebody who's doing things that are really, you look at it and you think, oh my God, what's going on here, right? We come across these type of people, right? They're really stuck in their egos. They are so deluded. They're so blinded by something that, what should our attitude be to them? Neutral. Yeah, we see that we were once like that ourselves, and maybe they're going through something themselves. So what should my attitude to them be? Neutral. I accept them for who they are, because within them is the same Purusha. So what do I worship in them? Not what the facade is. No, the facade is full of stuff that is unwholesome. But within them is that. So, you know, in the Indian tradition, we do namaste, or even in the Thais, they do it, right? Many traditions. So this is you and this is me. We come together, yeah. And my divinity, the divinity within me, worships the divinity in you. That's the significance of namaste. Do you understand? The divinity in me, I acknowledge that there is divinity in me. Yeah. I am that. And you too are that. And I worship the divinity in you. Recognize it. I recognize it and I worship it. Now, the facade may be full of stuff that is unwholesome, but within that facade is the same light, same divinity that is within you. So what do I look at? That divinity. I look at the inherent goodness that is there. Maybe it's covered up right now, a little bit covered up. The clouds have come in. It's an eclipse, yeah, covered up. But I have a neutral attitude. I accept you for how you are, yeah. But I'm still friendly with you, Maitri. And I have compassion for those who are suffering. So those dukkha, those people who are dukkhi or suffering, what is my attitude to them? Karuna, compassion, yeah. I'm compassionate to them because they are suffering. I will do everything in my capacity to alleviate their suffering. Yeah, I have compassion. I feel for them. Yeah, that's compassion. So Maitri, Karuna, Mudita. Now, delight. Now, if somebody is upeksha. Mudita upeksha. Upeksha is mudita is I take delight in somebody who's got a lot of good fortune. Yeah, somebody's got good fortune. What do? I don't become jealous and say, oh, they don't deserve it. Yeah, and they don't deserve it. I deserve it, right? What should I say? I'm happy for them. Mudita. I am happy for them. I take delight in the fact that you're successful, you're in a good place. I'm happy for you. Yeah. So what are the 4 locks and the 4 keys? Maitri. And this is a very important strategy for emotional and psychological purification, which is very important on the path of yoga. Purifying my mind and purifying my emotions. So that for that emotional purification, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. So my attitude to the world is that of friendliness, compassion. I take delight in those who have succeeded. I'm happy for them. And I'm neutral to those who are ignorant and who are so-called deluded. Okay, I won't call them wicked. It's a very strong word. I don't think anyone's wicked. Anyone who's conscious is wicked. It's because they are unconscious. They are going through whatever they're going through. They're behaving the way they're behaving. Yeah, people have to be unconscious in order to misbehave. Yeah, if they are really conscious, you will never misbehave. Because being conscious means you're connected to your inner light. Being unconscious means you are disconnected from that inner light. And when you're disconnected from that inner light, then of course your actions are based on ego, which is based on fear and desire, which is going to harm you and harm others. Do you see that? So it's about becoming conscious and living consciously, meaning remaining connected to that light within. Living consciously simply means that. It's such a simple thing. It's a very simple thing. Okay? So that is a very important sutra. And then he gives a story of a monkey and a bird. Okay? So quite a nice story, actually. So he says, one day there was this sparrow and this monkey on this tree, and it was raining heavily. And the sparrow had built itself a little home. Yeah, a nice little home. So when it was raining, the sparrow peeped out from its home and looked at the monkey getting completely drenched in the rain and said, listen, why are you are the, Darwin considers you as the ancestor of all humans, so you're a very brainy guy. I am a little bird that just has a little beak. And you see, with my little beak, I've built this little house of mine, which has a little chamber, which has a waiting room. It's a very comfortable home. So the sparrow tells the monkey, why don't you also do that, right? He went to advise him. And what did the monkey do? The monkey came and destroyed the whole house, right? Because monkey was very angry. So how dare you, little sparrow, what do you think, right? The monkey could not see the happiness of the sparrow, right? So this is a lesson to learn, that don't go to advise people. Don't try to advise them. If they are misbehaving, let them be. Have a neutral attitude to them and be compassionate towards them. Don't try to advise them, because they will come and harm you. They could harm you. Unless they seek your advice. It's a different story. Yeah, if they come to you and say, listen, I'm going through a hard time. Can you please advise me? It's a different story. But unsolicited advice. So the monkey didn't ask the sparrow for any advice. The sparrow just, was being very smart. He advised him. Yeah. Okay, this is just a little example. Okay. And then he talks about, that calm is retained by the controlled exhalation or retention of breath. Now, we work a lot with that here in our practice, breath holding, at the end of the exhalation. And we've seen how that can lead people to meditation more easily. And slow exhalations, making your exhalations really of the 4 parts of your breathing. You have Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, and Antara Kumbhaka, Bahir Kumbhaka. The 4 things of your breathing, of that, Puraka is inhalation, Rechaka is exhalation, and then there is a pause at the end of the exhalation, and there's a pause at the end of the inhalation. The most important phase is the exhalation phase, Rechaka. Yeah. So in our daily lives, we have seen this for many of you, that your exhalations are not long enough. They are too short, because maybe you have a tendency to breathe in. Most of us do that, by the way. It's not a few. Everybody does that. The inhalation is, I need to live, I need to live. The inhalation phase is the sympathetic nervous system stimulation phase. And that phase is, I need air, I need air, I need air, right? So the exhalation phase is the phase of the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us to relax, which helps us to become very mentally very calm. Because remember, the first step to dhyan, the first step to attaining that connected state is tranquility of the mind. If my tranquility is disturbed, I'm disconnected. Remember that. Anytime your tranquil mind, your calm mind is disturbed, you are disconnected from that light. Do you understand? When you're calm, you feel naturally connected. You feel like I just feel happy. How do you feel when you're connected? Naturally happy, right? So that's what your yoga practice should lead you to, feeling a very calm, still, tranquil state. Yeah. And that is what will give you more and more of the awareness that will help you to change your life, transform your life. Yeah. Any questions so far? No. Then he talks about the concentration on subtle sense perceptions. So when we practice asana, right? If we are truly present, we're feeling every sensation that's happening in the body. So we're not just quickly moving in and out of poses, in and out, in and out, in and out. That's what yoga has become these days. Quick, 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 quick. I need to get that workout. I need to sweat it out. It's done. Oh, wow. Feel great. Boot camp yoga. That's not yoga anymore, right? because my breath is all disturbed. My mind is like, oh, I need to get it done, over and done with, in the same attitude that I have in the world. Come on, quickly give me the coffee. I need to quickly drink it and dash back to work. No. Yeah. You need to slow it down so that I can actually feel those sensations. I'm actually present to what is happening in my body. And when I start to feel those sensations in my body, then I can take that same awareness when I'm eating my meal. Am I eating very quickly? Am I eating too much? Am I eating out of greed? Am I really hungry? Am I overeating? Am I eating something that's helping me? I am present to what I'm doing in the same way as I'm present to those sensations. I'm learning through the yoga practice how to pay attention. One of the best skills that yoga teaches me is how to be present, how to pay attention. Because when I pay attention, when I am present, I'm connected. When I'm not present, I'm disconnected. Remember that. When I'm present, I'm connected to the source. It's very simple. When I'm disconnected, I'm not present because my mind has gone off somewhere else. I'm somewhere else. I'm no longer here. Do you understand? Therefore, enlightened living means being present here and now. I'm here and now. I am that I am. I am here. I am now. I am that I am right now. This is the only place where I can feel my presence. Yeah. The minute I go into past, the minute I go into future, I've lost that connection with myself. Yeah. Or that concentration on subtle sense perceptions can cause steadiness of mind, or by concentrating on the supreme, ever blissful light within. So just putting my attention at the heart. Yeah, that's a very powerful place to actually meditate on, because the self is set, the seat of the self is meant to be the heart, which is why the expression of love means it is an expression of that self within. Yeah. So he says one of the ways is to meditate on the heart and on the light that is within you at the heart center. Okay. He says, or concentrating. So if you feel that I don't have it, my heart is too kind of blocked with pain and sorrow, then feeling the heart of maybe a being that you worship, could be Christ, could be Buddha, it could be anybody that you worship, that somebody you revere, in their heart. Bring them into your heart, yeah, and feel their heart in you. Okay. I mean, he's just giving you, it's basically saying there are so many ways, essentially, to attain that connection, that state of connectedness. There are so many ways you can do it through. He says, or by meditating on anything one chooses that is elevating. You can choose anything that you find elevating. Okay. Gradually, one's mastery in concentration extends from the primal atom to the greatest magnitude. So as you keep going, you will find that your concentration, you start to become very aware of everything from the minutest atom to something that's really big. You're able to see through things. Your perception becomes filled with clarity, and you're able to see beyond appearances. Yeah, when you start the practice. Then he talks about, he says, he likens a person who has attained that state to a crystal that has got so much clarity that it can merge with the source. So let's say you put a red flower in front of a crystal, the crystal becomes red, right? In the same way, when you meditate and you merge with the source, you're basically, it is the merging of the meditator, the meditation, and the object you're meditating on. All three become one. The subject and object become one. So what happens in dhyan, deep states of meditation, the subject and the subject becomes the object becomes the subject, they are just one and the same. The meditator is so fully, deeply absorbed in his or her object of meditation, they become one. And that is real dhyan. That is meditation. Do you understand? They merge, and that is the state of yoga that we're talking about. Yeah. So there is another story here. You know, he says, when you start experiencing your practice starts to, you know, become fruitful, he says all of the old samskaras. So now we have a lot of innate natural tendencies, right? All of us have. I could have anger in me. I could have jealousy as a natural innate tendency. We all have certain habits, right? We all have certain habits that define us, and that define our characters, that define how we live our lives, how we relate to others. Now, he says that when these samskaras take charge, then you start to lose yourself again, because all those samskaras now dictate your life, right? So he says when you start to meditate, you start to walk on the path of yoga, start to live consciously, those samskaras are like those seeds. We talked about it yesterday. They are like those seeds. We stop watering them. They ultimately wither away and die. And they get weakened because they're no longer given any more water and fertilizer. So the same way, whatever those habits are, once you realize it and bring them to the conscious light and recognize that these are my traits, yeah, and these traits are harming me, then I start to change. There's a natural transformation, because there's a natural realization that it's not serving me anymore. I let it go and I stop watering it. I stop giving into it. And gradually there's a change that happens. So here he gives a story about a man who was actually a great dacoit. In India, dacoits are these people who actually they harass travelers, and for all their money, they're like pirates, you know. In the water, in the ships, you have these pirates who come and take away all your money, take away all the stuff. So again, this guy was like a dacoit, right? He was a well-known dacoit, and one day while he was there, this sage was walking. Narada was walking, and he said, "Hey, stop! Come, give me, empty your pockets. Give me whatever you're holding in your pockets." So the sage said, "Listen, I'm a yogi. I'm a sage. I have nothing to give you." So he said, "How can you be? You're a terrible person." He said, "Listen, I may be a terrible person, but I just want to tell you that whatever you're doing, you're going to really, are you sure what you're doing is really going to benefit you?" He said, "Of course. If I don't do this, I can't feed my family. I can't give them food. I can't put food on the table. I'm doing this for the sake of my family." So he said, "Okay, fine. Why don't you do this? I will be right here. I'm not going anywhere. Go ask your family that you're stealing for them, right? But are they going to partake in the consequences of your stealing? You know, there are bad consequences to stealing." He said, "No, of course they will support me. Of course, because they are also eating the same food from the stolen money." He said, "Listen, I'm here. You go ask them." So this guy goes to this family and says, "Listen, we are a family. We are united, and I put food on the table. Will you support me in the consequences of my stealing?" They said, "Of course not. Why should we? It's your duty to support us. How you do it is your business." How you do it is your business. So we are not partaking in the consequences. You face the consequences, you die, whatever happens to you, you do. But for us, we are only concerned with food because it's your duty to provide. So he ran back to the sage and he said, "Listen, I now realize that you're right. I am the one who's going to pay for whatever sins I'm committing." And so the sage, he says, "Now what do I do? How do I overcome this, right? I'm full of sin, done so much of stealing all my life." So he said, "Okay, don't worry. It's not too late." He said, "You repeat the name." He gives him a name, a sound to repeat. And he says, "I don't even understand the sound. What are you asking me to repeat?" So he said, "Okay, that sound, if you reverse the sound, Ram, it becomes Mara, M-A-R-A. He says, okay, can you see the tree there? The tree is Mara, okay? So just sit down and repeat Mara, 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 Mara. Keep repeating that. Now, this guy actually did that, sat there, repeated, and anthills after anthills went over him to that extent. He got so absorbed in the sound that one day somebody came and disturbed the anthill, and then he emerged out of it. And when he emerged out of it, he became a great sage. He's the one who's written the Ramayana. You know, the whole, you know, Diwali just went, Deepavali. It's all about, based on this epic called the Ramayana, in which these brothers are sent away by this woman, who evil woman, the wife of the king, sends them away into exile for 14 years, right? Lord Rama is sent away. And when he comes back, they say it's time for good over evil. So when he comes back to Ayodhya, the whole Ayodhya went into darkness because he was supposed to rule, and he was not allowed to rule because his stepmother said that her son should be the one who rules. And she made her husband, which is their father, promise that the kingdom will go to her son. So this man is very good, Rama. He says, I will go. I don't need to rule. It's my father's wish that I should leave. So I will leave. I have to keep, my father has to keep his promise. So for 14 years, he went away in the forest. And the whole place, Ayodhya, went into darkness because he was not around as the king. So after 14 years, when he came back, the whole city was lit up, and that is Deepavali. Yeah, just giving you a little bit. And now he was the one who wrote that whole epic. So he was actually a dacoit. I don't know about the story of the Mara and Rama and whatever that story is. I don't know about the truth of that. But he was the writer of that great text called Ramayana. Yeah. Just a bit of a digression there. And then the samadhi in which, okay, so then he talks about the different types of samadhi. Now I'm going to start part 2. Okay, sadhana pada. Sadhana pada sadhana is practice, literally translated as spiritual practice. Okay, the second portion is very practical. It's got all the practices that we as householders, as normal mortal beings can practice. The first thing he talks about is Kriya Yoga. The Kriya Yoga that he's talking about is, remember I talked to you about the yamas and niyamas. Yeah, in the yamas, there is tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishwar pranidhan, right? Remember, tapas is the heat, the fire of discipline. Yeah, what is tapas? So what are the 5 niyamas? Saucha, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, Ishwar pranidhan. 5, yeah. Of the 5, the 3, which is tapas, swadhyaya, Ishwar pranidhan, are considered to be Kriya Yoga. And that is a very big part of what should be a very big part of one's practice. What is tapas? Tapas is accepting pain, okay, with equanimity, with a neutral state of mind. Tapas is being consciously saying, I accept the punishment, I accept the pain. We're not masochists, yeah. But it's not masochism. But when pain arises, we don't run away from it. We say, okay, it is there. I have to, this is good for me. It is good for my purification. And it's there to wake me up. It's not there to punish me. I change my attitude to it. So my attitude to pain is what I need to change. Pain is there. I can't run away from it. It's part and parcel of my life and existence. And there will never be, you cannot be a human body and not go through pain. It's inevitable. Inevitable part of our existence. So tapas is accepting pain consciously and willingly. Okay? Ishwar pranidhan, as I mentioned, is surrender. Now, in tapas, he talks about the mind and the senses. He says the mind is can be like a wild horse which has no reins. Okay, So he says the body is like a chariot. Okay, think of the body as a vehicle or a chariot. Think of the reins as your mind. Yeah. Think of the horses as your senses. So your senses are constantly pulling and pushing your mind in different directions. What is it that is really affecting your mind so much? I see something, then I want it. I hear something and I'm upset. So my mind is immediately, the minute the mind comes into contact with an object, there is immediately a reaction here, right? So mind is like a wild horse. Yeah. And it governs my life. It basically dictates how I live my life, which is the worst way to live. And this is how we all live. We are basically victims of our own minds. And that becomes the cause of our suffering. So he says that the mind has to be tamed. Okay. He says the mind is like a chariot. The body is like a chariot. The mind is like the reins. The horses are the senses that are pushing and pulling the mind in many directions. And the charioteer is buddhi. What is the charioteer? The one who's guiding, who's holding the reins. Remember yesterday we talked about buddhi? The discriminatory power in us. The higher mind, in other words. Manas is the lower mind. The mind that is desiring all the time, is all the time wanting, needing, grasping, clinging, right? But the discriminatory mind, the buddhi says, wait a minute, do you really need that? The mind says, I want. My buddhi comes in and says, wait a minute, do you really need that? Is that going to give you lasting happiness? The one question we should ask, is this going to bring me happiness or peace? If it's not going to bring me that, do I need to do it? I don't want to do it. I'm very clear about it. Don't want it. It's not bringing me happiness, not bringing me peace. It's only causing grief. I need to walk away from it. So buddhi is the discriminatory one, power in us that helps us to walk away from what we don't need. Yeah, having that buddhi dictate our lives, not the mind dictating our lives, but buddhi dictating our lives. Do you understand? So, and the person, the passenger sitting in the chariot, who is that? That's Purusha. Who is the passenger sitting? He's simply watching the whole show. He's not doing anything. He's not involved in anything. He's not involved in the game. He's not involved in the play of life. He's simply there as a witness, watching the whole show. So he says, Patanjali says that your mind has to be stabilized. And tapas also means austerities. What are the austerities? Austerities of the mind, austerities of the body, and austerities of my speech. Yeah. Austerity of my speech is I speak only that which is pleasant and not hurting anybody. And even if it's the truth, sometimes you say, but it's the truth, what do I do? Say it in a pleasant way, okay? Not in an unpleasant way. That is austerity of speech, yeah. Austerity of the mind is keeping pure thoughts. Austerity of the body is having, one of the austerities is celibacy, and also having a pure heart and keeping yourself in a way where you live a life of discipline. Yeah. So tapas can also be discipline in a way, and self-restraint. What is tapas? Self-restraint, discipline. Okay, this is very pleasurable, but do I really need it? Is it really going to bring me lasting happiness? Or is it going to bring me pain in the end? So I may go to that bar and indulge in a lot of drinks, but at the end of it, maybe I enjoyed at that time. But after I come out of it, how do I feel? I feel like hell. So you know what? What should I remember? Not the pleasure it gave me. It's the pain that gave me. And if I remember that, then I will have natural self-restraint to say, I don't need that. Yeah. Okay. So austerities, tapas is also austerities. Swadhyaya is, as I mentioned, study of the scripture, study of the self, self-study, and Ishwar Pranidhan is surrendering everything I do. to that divinity within myself. So I say, you are the doer. I'm not the doer. I am just the instrument. I don't take pride. So if somebody says, you are so great, look at what you've done, it was something that happened through me. Not, I am not the doer. Do you understand? Not, because that will lead to what? Pride. Or it will lead to what? Shame. If it didn't turn out right, what would I feel? I would straight away feel shame and guilt, right? So not considering myself as a doer of my actions, okay? And realizing that I am just an instrument through which all of this is happening, yeah. And I surrender to that within me that is doing these actions, and the fruits of my actions also, I give it back to you. So I am just the instrument, and that's how I live my life. So that I am not bound to anything. I'm no longer attached to anything. Because when I do, then I'm also concerned, I have expectation. And that's what happens with desire. The trouble with desire is there's expectation. The trouble with attachment is it comes with expectation. And when there's expectation, there's going to be disappointment. What's the word that goes hand in hand with expectation? They cannot be without, expectation cannot be without disappointment. So if I check that out and I see how even in my relationships, there is an expectation that you have to behave a certain way. You have to do something for me. You have to. And we see that most of our problematic relationships are with those people from whom we expect a lot. It's family, generally speaking, it's family, because there's a lot of expectation, right? But friends, we don't expect anything, right? So we have very nice relationships, right? Because I don't expect anything from you, right? So a pure relationship is one which is free from expectations, so that I simply live my life and it's hard. It's very hard not to have expectation. But that's where you need to have the discriminatory power to realize that it is this expectation that's leading me to disappointment. And because I'm disappointed now, it's going to cause me distress. And now I've lost my stability of my mind. I've lost my tranquil mind, and I've lost my connection with that supreme light within myself. I'm disconnected from it. The minute I go into a state of distress or despair, I'm disconnected. Yeah. Any questions? It's 3 o'clock. I'll quickly talk about the 5 kleshas and then we stop. Yeah. The kleshas are basically, I don't know if obstacles is the right word for kleshas. The kleshas are the ones that actually prevent us from realizing ourselves. I've actually mentioned it yesterday. What are those kleshas? Avidya, rag, dvesh, asmita, and abhinivesha. What are the 5 kleshas? So the first is avidya, ignorance. Yeah, ignorance of my true nature, taking the unreal to be real, is avidya, and not realizing the reality is within me. Ignorance. All ignorance is the cause of suffering. Yeah. Second is rag. Rag means with color. Vairag means without color. So vairagya is non-attachment and raga is attachment. What is rag? I'm attached. I'm attached to a belief system. I can be attached to a religious belief system. That too is an attachment, by the way. Yeah, you say, I'm a Buddhist. You are what? Oh, you are that. Oh, I'm vegetarian. You eat meat. Oh. I practice yoga and I meditate every day. Oh, you don't? Oh, I see. We call it the spiritual ego. Easy to have it. And then I want to go around converting everybody. Say, come, come, come. You should also be doing it. So, not trying to convert anybody and not being attached to anything. Yeah. Realizing that everything is as it is, and attachment will lead to bondage, and bondage will lead to suffering, because bondage simply means I'm holding on to something which is going to slip away from me. Inevitably, it's going to be taken away from me. It's only been given to me temporarily. Everything in my life is like that. Nothing belongs to me. Because when I came empty. When I leave, I will leave empty. So one by one, letting go, letting it go. And that non-attachment, letting go, the ultimate letting go is death. Okay? The ultimate letting go, the ultimate surrender is death. So when we do Shavasana in our practice, yeah, it is really a practice of letting go. And it is that letting go when meditation actually happens. So when you're sitting for meditation, or when you're lying in Shavasana, that split second comes when you completely surrender, you completely drop. And that is when the magic happens. So it is therefore, it's called corpse pose, because we are really mimicking what death is. In death, I let everything go. All my possessions, I can't say I'm taking this with me, I'm taking that. I packed my bag, now I'm carrying it to the next life. You cannot carry anything back with you. So my attitude is I'm merely a caretaker. It's been given in my care temporarily. So let me make the most of it. Let me enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying don't enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's your right to enjoy it. You're here to enjoy it, by the way. Okay? Purusha has come here to enjoy all this whole life. Yeah. So if you're given something, enjoy it. Don't say, I don't want it. No, now I'm a yogi. No. Enjoy it. It's there for you. It's nothing wrong with that. Okay? But don't be attached to it. It does not belong to you. It's just been given in your care. Take good care of it, but let it go when the time comes. Accept voluntarily, consciously say, it's now time to let it go. I'll let it go. I'm fine with it. I enjoyed it while it was with me. So rag is attachment, sorry. Yeah. Dvesh is aversion. What is aversion? I run away from it. I say, I don't want. And then you look at your own life, you see there's so many things you said, I don't want. But the more you say you don't want, what happens? It actually comes to you. Yeah. For many years, I said, I never, ever live in Ampang. Because, even when people would invite me there, I used to live in Bangsa, actually 23 years ago, I used to live in Bangsa. And I had this very snobbish thing. I said, Ampang, no. Even when I was asked to teach there, I said, no, it's too far. I'm not going to go through traffic. No, Ampang, no. But eventually my life circumstances were such, I had to actually live there. I lived there for 23 years. Can you believe it? So everything you say you don't want, don't have aversion to anything. It's dangerous. Yeah. You say, I don't want. The universe says, okay, let's give it to them. Huh? But you say you want? Be careful what you want. Because when it's given to you, you think, oh my God, actually, you know what? I didn't want this. Be careful what you wish for, it will come true. So there's no aversion to anything. You don't say no to anything. Everything is fine. Maintain a neutral attitude. If it comes, good. It's not there, it's fine. Everything is fine. It is as it is. It is as it is. Your entire life story has already been written out. You have no control. You have no choice. So simply accept it as it comes. Yeah. I have no preferences. I have no likes, no dislikes. So the first thing as a yoga practitioner is I drop the likes and dislikes, because that puts me into a prison. That puts me into a box. I'm in a prison. The minute I have a like, the minute I have a dislike, I'm already in a prison, because now I've bound myself to that. Do you understand? I'm not open to anything else anymore. I've become closed. Do you understand? So there is no such thing. I accept everything as it is, and everything has a place. Everything has the same qualities of polarities of good and bad. Like they say, everything has its pros and cons. Nothing, I mean, it's funny because as I was building this house, it was incredible to come across. All this philosophy was something I was living through building this. And the architect would keep saying, okay, Shilpa, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be absolute. There will be a pros to it. There'll be a cons to it. Are you willing to take the cons? And I was like, oh, okay. Every single thing came with pros and cons. Nothing was without that. Nothing was absolutely, yes, it's perfect. Take it. No. Nothing. He said, even if you had all the money in the world, it would still not be like that. It would still be bound by some kind of, something that you might think, I don't like this. It's there. Can't help it. Yeah. So simply accept it. It's a natural part of it. Okay. So rag, dvesh, and abhinivesha is fear of death. I cling to my life because I'm afraid of death. And I'll only be afraid of death if I have not lived well. So we realize that all of life is a preparation for death. If I live well, I will die well. So if I live well, I will not be afraid of death, because I understand that my life, birth and death are opposites, two polarities. But within birth and within death, there is life which is immortal. So as Purusha, I am immortal. I am deathless. What is it that dies? The body dies. The ego dies. The mind dies. All this rubbish that I've been carrying, all this baggage that I got on the train. Remember yesterday we said we are all travelers, right? We are just on this journey. We are just traveling. We're just visiting this whole planet and enjoying this planet, right? Think of it as a trip. We're all here. The trouble is we've got onto the train, but we are carrying the bags with us in our hands. What do you do when you get on the train? Do you put the bags down or do you continue to carry it? You keep carrying it everywhere, right? So we suffer. So we carry all these wrong notions, wrong ideas, wrong belief systems, and we are so attached to them that they become our prisons. So I'm carrying all this baggage with me. And then I feel tired. I'm exhausted by the end of the day because I'm carrying a lot of these burdens. So what do the sutras say? Drop it and live your life in freedom, because your inherent nature is freedom. Your inherent nature is joy. Your inherent nature is love. Why are you bothered with all this? Let life bring whatever comes and goes. Let it come and go. It's a coming and a going. It's like a cloud that comes and goes. It's like a dark cloud that comes, and then the sun comes out. Then again another cloud comes, and again the sun comes. And this is life. It's never going to end till your death. So I'm not here saying, I only want the sun, I don't want the clouds. We suffer because we take a position, and we say, I want this, but I don't want this. But how can that be? You want one, the other is bound to be a part of it. Like we said, if you want pleasure, the pain also is part of it. You cannot say, I only want the pleasure, I don't want the pain. The minute you start to become selective, that's when the problems happen. So we say, okay, I take the pleasure, but I'm very aware that there is pain embedded in this pleasure, and I accept it when it comes. I accept it with the same attitude that I accepted the pain. So rag, dvesh, abhinivesha. I don't need to cling to anything, because the truth is I am always free. I'm eternally free. Nitya Buddha, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Mukta, ever pure, ever wise, ever free. That's my nature. That's who I truly am. That's how you truly are. And if I start to live my life like that, even if it's intellectually, I start living like that, it's enough. Slowly, slowly, the experience will reinforce what you know intellectually. So to some extent, it helps to intellectually live this practice, so that you can slowly, slowly start experiencing it, and you start to, it will validate, your life experiences will validate these concepts, which maybe right now you only know intellectually. Gradually, they will start becoming reality to you. You'll start to see, oh yes, there is truth in this. Oh my God, there is truth in this. All along, I was living in ignorance. Now I realize that that is my true nature. I don't need to worry about anything. So one of the first things, when you're really, if you want to test yourself on the spiritual path, how much do I worry? If my life is filled with worry, I am not on the path. It's because I'm carrying all these bags, carrying a lot of baggage. Yeah, I'm traveling through this journey of life, but I haven't dropped my baggage. I need to drop my baggage. I need to relax. I need to allow life to flow and take it as it comes. As it comes, roll with the punches, right? Yield, and not resist. That's a Taoist way of teaching. Yeah, yield, but do not resist. Because in resistance, it's through resistance that the pain and the suffering comes. The suffering comes because I resist the pain. And I allow it, say it's there, I accept it, it's part and parcel of my life and existence and everybody's life. No one is free of it. No human being is free of it. They may not tell you about it, but they're all going through it themselves. So what do? We accept it when it comes to us. Live